Oh,
Hey, everybody, this is the Nerdcast. No, I officially changed the name of the show because we stopped being a record club. We were called the Music Nerds Record Club, and
but
we
we
stopped
didn't
talking
give
about stopped talking about records like I don't know how many episodes ago. So, yes, I changed the
That's
name
fair.
to the Nerdcast. I mean, you can change it to something else. I'm okay with that. Hey, everybody,
I just thought we were a democracy, but
we are a democracy. That's fine. Do you want to have a vote to change it back to the
Not
record
now.
club? We're on the internet. My name is Sunfrog, also known as Teacher on the Radio, also known as Andrew, and I'm with my friends Amy, Joe, and Scott. And once a month we get together on the old StreamYard and talk about popular culture, music in particular. And my dear comrade from Charlotte, North Carolina, also the host of the Debt's No Honest Man Can Pay podcast, and the host of next month's All Springsteen All the Time episode, the first ever All Springsteen episode of what was formerly known as the Music Nerds Record Club, which I'm calling the Nerdcast, but we can call it whatever we want. It's not a democracy because I have the StreamYard account. I guess that's what it is. Basically, what it boiled down to is I'm paying for the StreamYard. I'm paying for the StreamYard account, and so I changed what it was called. Anyway, joining us from New City, New York, is Joe Guinness, and from Nashville, Tennessee. We missed you the last couple of months. Amy Rock is back in the saddle. We are missing the editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Tech Oracle, Gus Creeder, who will be back for our end of the year mix, and he promises to tell me the schedule of the Oracle Monday nights. He's putting to bed, this is deadline to go to print for the school paper at Tennessee Tech. And missing us this week because his daughter is getting married is Nashville, Tennessee's own Rick Quinn. So Amy has chosen the topic for tonight, even though she wasn't here last month. It's kind of a continuation of last month's theme, which basically says in these dark and dreary and divided and demented times, living under an uncertain future, whether it's war or climate catastrophe or high rent or the people in charge, the people who are large and in charge and messing up the world, we need to find our joy where we can. So, Amy, why don't you talk to us about your decision to make tonight's topic live music and just kind of riff on that for us, and then we'll join you in having a little round robin.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Nerdcast.
Welcome to the Nerdcast, y'all. Thank you for having me back. No, glad to be part of the Nerdcast. Yeah, well, I was thinking about what we'd talk about tonight, thinking about the music stuff that's been of my life this year. It's been going to shows and festivals, and that's been just a really important part of my life this year, as escape from the dreariness, as connection with new friends and people I love, and just it feels good and it makes me happy. And I think that's kind of what I want to explore today, to see if the way I feel about live music is similar to y'all's, and maybe y'all will have a different perspective. But what is it that makes going to a live show different than listening to a record? We're not a record club right now, apparently. So I want to explore that. Like, what is so special about going to see a show? Like, I'm not a musician. I've not performed on a stage before. I think some of y'all have done maybe a bit more performance than I have. So you'll have that to kind of reflect on. But kind of the format I'm kind of thinking of to lead through a couple ways to reflect on this topic is the senses. Like, what do you see at a show? What does it feel like? What about the sound is special? So I'll use those to guide us through the conversation. But yeah, what is it? Like, I'm so destroyed after a show. My feet hurt, I'm exhausted, I'm losing sleep, and yet we keep going back. So what is the joy of live music?
Is that, we Andy Drew and I can talk about this because we just spent a lot of time on our feet. Him 1/3 more time in Brooklyn at the My Morning Jacket run, and it was physically exhausting. And I'm not even sure what joy is, but I wasn't necessarily feeling it on the second night just because I'm not used to running that late.
Yeah.
But it's I haven't been able to figure out what joy is, but I think about this Steinbeck quote about struggling with writing, and then he mentions then there's this breaking through to glory. There's at a show I'm always looking for release. There's just some crescendo of music and emotion, whether it's just loudness from the band, the crowd vibing, whatever it is. Often, I don't know what, if it's a band you've seen a lot, My Morning Jacket for Andrew, there's certain points in there where it's a communal get off. And you might not think they're coming, but there they are. And they're probably there every time in the same songs at certain points just because of what songs can do. So I'll just throw that out there.
What's interesting about what happened on Saturday is that, and on Friday and Thursday for us, was that this particular venue is a new venue. So the sound system was incredible and the aesthetics of the venue were very fancy, but it was a all main floor general admission standing show. And I think they might have oversold by like 300 tickets to what really is comfortable. And I've been to a couple of shows in these newer all standing venues, one in Louisville, one in Atlanta, where I think the main floor was oversold, and you could just, you said the five senses. I mean, one of the senses is smell. Like you could like smell your neighbor, even though you're not supposed to smoke indoors anymore. Like as soon as the lights went out and the show starts, people are lighting up, not vape doobies, but like old fashioned, hand rolled marijuana cigarettes getting sparked up across the main floor. Body odor, the booze, people spilling their drinks on each other, the people who talk too much, the people who are too tall. I mean, I'm 5'7". I've never felt more 5'7" than I did at this show this weekend. It just seems like every time I turn around, there's like some 6'5" football player guy standing in front of me. I was developing the theory of the jock to jacket fan pipeline. I didn't know it was a thing, but this weekend I'm like, oh God, he was a middle linebacker. Oh, that guy was a power forward. This guy lays brick. He goes back to his job laying brick in the morning. I mean, I am just this wee little pint-sized midget over here compared to, and I know I'm not vertically compromised like the short people are, so I don't want to make any aspersions to the short crowd. But anyway, I think though you referenced that, Amy, that all of those inconveniences, and for us too, we were staying out of Joe's house, and it's a 70-minute drive or like a 2-hour train ride to get to the show, and we tried it both ways, going in Joe's car and taking the train, and we quickly discovered the train is way less stressful and way more relaxing, even though it's 2 hours. So we ended up getting home around 2 a.m. and getting to sleep, 2:30. And I did that when I was younger, but man, I'm not used to those kind of hours. So, but the happy brain chemicals, that feeling of joy, what Joe called it, the communal get off. I think, Amy, in electronic music, they have that thing where like the DJs know how to like time this moment in the song where it gets kind of like, it kind of peaks and then falls off a little bit. That definitely happens for me at a show with a band that I really love that does not play the same set every night. So when that song comes on that you weren't sure if you were going to hear it or not, that's a particularly special song to you. You get that communal high, and you look around to see how everybody else is reacting to that particular song. So I think also the exhaustion contributes to that. I don't know about like you, Amy, I know you go to a lot of festivals too, but sometimes on like the last day of the festival, that's when you're the most exhausted, but you're also the most emotionally vulnerable to have that like stupid cry in the middle of a song for no reason. And I love that. I love that like Sunday afternoon stupid cry at a festival when you really would rather be home in bed or just anywhere where you can put your feet up.
Wow. I've yet to experience the stupid cry, but that's going to go on the bucket list. I think that obviously the music is the big draw, but I think a lot of it is the overall experience. I'm like, some of the most fun that I've ever had have been like the road trip rock shows. You just like the road trip is half the fun. Who you're with is half the fun.
Mhm.
The experiences that you have before and after, like when I went out to see Joe in January, and we went to see DBT one night and Chuck Prophet the next night, and the drive up to Woodstock, and like seeing the town of Woodstock and seeing Big Pink, of course, going to Levon Helm's farm. The show itself was incredible because Chuck Prophet's awesome and the Cumbia shoes are awesome, but the venue was perfect. It's like when you've got a great artist in a great venue on a Friday or a Saturday night, and you're far, far away from home, and you are so outside of your head, because a great rock show is going to get you out of your head and get you into that space. That my favorite, maybe this is my equivalent of the stupid cry, but when I'm sitting there at a rock show, no matter how much my feet hurt or don't hurt, when I get to the point where I pull my head out of my ass and go, I'm smiling. I didn't mean to smile, but I'm just smiling. Then mission accomplished. But yeah, it's and it doesn't even have to be the road trip. Like a lot of my favorite shows have been just local. We've got a couple of great venues here in Charlotte. Andy will second the emotion about the Evening Muse, which is like the definition of the place to go when you want to hear music and be around people who want to hear music and not be around douchebags who want to talk through the music. That is like
Important.
the perfect place. I've seen Chuck Prophet there. I've seen Peter Case there. I've seen Mary Gaucher there. Saw Adeem there. It's just one of these great little places. We've got this great place called the Visualite, which is just a converted old theater. And it's magical in the sense of no matter what show I'm at, no matter how early or late I arrive, I can always get up front. But when I go the Fillmore, I have to strategically plan to get there early enough to get up close. And being 5'5", it's like getting close counts. And one of the neatest things was my friend Margaret and I went to see Dawes a few years back, and it was their Evening with Dawes tour. So they did 2 sets. And at one point, this very tall gentleman in front of us was just like, "Oh, my bad. I'm sorry, please." And he like motioned for us to stand in front of him. And it was wonderful. And I'll, while I'm just randomly throwing off things here, I think the city or the area also has a lot to do with it. Whenever I go to see shows in Carborough, like at the Cat's Cradle, I have a great time because the people are great. When I go to see shows in Raleigh, my experiences in hopscotch, just whenever I get outside of Charlotte, I'm like, Charlotte's fine. But when I get outside of Charlotte and get into the Chapel Hill, Carborough, Raleigh area, there's something that's different in the water. And it's just, and you meet people and you talk to people. I don't know if I had that experience a whole lot in Detroit, although, if you cut me, I bleed Fago, but please do not cut me. But yeah, I'm just going to shut up for now and let somebody else take the wheel.
No, everything you were just saying, Scott, was about my last big concert experience going up to Chicago. I traveled there to see the band Grandaddy, which is an indie rock band from California that I really love. And they were touring on my favorite album, Software Slumps. And it was a band I've never seen, bucket list, just had to see them. They weren't coming anywhere close to here. So I'm just like, I got to get out, got to see them. It was an incredible show. I was on the rail for it. It was just perfect. And I ended up making friends with the guy next to me, and he was up from Atlanta to see the show. But my second night in Chicago, I'm like, I'll see what else is playing. And at the House of Blues, there was a show, and I was familiar with the opening act because they were at Shaky Knees a few years ago. It's Rickshaw Billy's Burger Club. and they're just a really fun punk band.
Right.
And the headline was The Sword, which hilariously, I forgot who The Sword was when I bought my tickets, and I'm like, The Knife. I like The Knife, the electro-pop duo. Different, but also in my wheelhouse. It was okay.
I have friends who are fans of The Sword. I get the feeling that they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's very like Black Sabbath doom metal, but just so good. But while I was question,
yes, you were in Chicago. Did you take the dare and do a shot of Malort?
No, it's fine. I'm not offended by Malort.
Oh, so you've experienced it.
I have experienced it. It was a D&D game, and the first time you like roll a 1, they're just like, all right, you take a shot of Malort. So
I had my first shot this summer, and it wasn't nearly as horrible, but it's not something I want to do again.
No, it's not something I'll seek out, but it's just like licking a grapefruit rind. You don't need to do that.
No.
So, Amy, I think you were about to reach a crescendo in what you were telling us about this Sword concert.
I'm sorry to derail your crescendo with Malort shots.
Yeah. But yeah, at the Sword show, waiting for them to go on, I started chatting with the guy next to me because he was wearing a 9 Inch Nails tour shirt. I'm like, this is going to be a cool guy. And he super was. He like helped pull me up to the front, and just the mosh pit was such a good vibe. Like, metalheads are awesome, and Chicago metalheads are really cool. And the energy in that room was wonderful. Ended up, just really vibing with the person headbanging right next to me. And we were like right in front of the mosh pit. So there's guys getting thrown at me. But at some point, a like stockier guy ended up positioning himself right behind me and was like catching people. So I didn't get like jostled around that much. Anyways, awesome show, awesome experience, and so worth the trip up there because the energy in that room, the sensation of being at a mosh pit, of seeing an artist, the surprise of seeing an artist I wasn't even like expecting to see. And that's my last good story about that. Let's see. I just have some like funny questions. When you're at a show, when you can see the stage pretty well, what do you look at? Like, I go to a lot of EDM shows where they put a lot of their energy into the like projection screen, the video going on, because it's typically just a guy standing there. And sometimes, the guy will be dancing around, but really the production is the cool video screen. But when I see a rock show, I'm usually looking at the vocalist. What do you guys watch?
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got a riveting vocalist, you want to keep your eye on them. And then, you want to float around, to give everybody your eyeballs. And especially, if somebody's shredding or somebody's playing a wicked free solo. I'm like, if there's cool stuff in the background, yeah. But I think my eyes are all over the place at a rock show. I'll like look around at me, check in with my friends, see if there's any cute women around, see if there's any like really silly drunk people, just catch the vibe of it.
Yeah, the sum of all the parts.
Exactly.
What about you, Joe?
It's fun. It's fun to people watch, like just look around and look at how different people are vibing. So, I enjoy that. It's just like I'm a head on a swivel, like just digging all around me.
Yeah.
When I see a band that's lyrics driven, rock or folk music or alt country or whatever, all the things that I love, I do have a tendency to focus on the lead singer. And I've been trying to train myself to pay attention, not only to the other artists in the group, but also like what their instruments are doing, because I tend to listen to like the mix. Right. But sometimes at a show, I'll challenge myself to try to hear one particular instrument. Sometimes the keyboards get in a rock band, but they have sometimes I feel like the keyboards get lost. So I'll be like, can I hear the keyboards? Let me listen. Let me listen to that. But I'll tell you one thing: a lot of these folk and country rock groups, a lot of them now have like a pedal steel player, which is not an instrument I used to be that familiar with. So now I find myself like, what is the pedal steel anyway? Like, what does that thing do? And I must say, the fiddle player, I mean, in that genre, if there's a fiddle player, I'm looking at the fiddle player, and it's not completely uncommon that in an alt country type band, or like a straight up country band, all the people in the band are going to be like basically these like really like rugged lumberjack looking hairy dudes, and then the fiddle player is going to be this woman in like this peasant dress with a flower in her hair, and she's going to definitely have a different kind of charisma than the rest of the guys in the band. And I'm thinking, like, how does she even survive living in a van? Like they're driving around in some like beat up van, and she's like got, so like I admire her for that as well, that she lives in a van with all these bros. But there's a couple of that I've seen recently where just that fiddle player, Libby, who's the fiddle player in Fust, but she's also in Sluice and she's in like 3 or 4 different bands. She's just got like a whole, she's very watchable, and she has like a whole vibe and a whole energy. Ella, who's the fiddle player for a country artist called Cole Chaney, very cool person. And I think I started following these people on Instagram too. And I think one of them's like a school music teacher. When they're not touring with their band, they like work teaching music in the public schools. And I just think that's like just like so cool. But like I think that's a great question, Amy, because I've definitely had to train myself to not just fixate on the lead singer. And I've really obviously enjoyed learning a lot about the other instruments that make up a band. Because I'm not Joe and Scott, like you mentioned, they've both been in bands, but I've never. I was telling my students this morning, like when people hear how I'm into music, they think I've been in a band. I played clarinet and marching band in 9th grade, and I dropped out, and I wasn't very good, and I'm not that obsessed with the clarinet. And occasionally you'll see a clarinet in a rock band, but not very often.
Yeah, I like that you're saying you're practicing listening to the different instruments, because that's what I learned in like music appreciation class, but it was about like going to the orchestra, but it's the same principle where you're like studying the music. Speaking of focusing in on the like cool instruments in bands, 2 of the bands I really got into at Shaky Knees had saxophone players. That's Fat Dog and Bill Murray, Bilmuri, which is such a fun punk band with a saxophone.
Not the actual Bill Murray.
Very not. It's the clean singer from the like hardcore emo band Attack Attack.
Lifelong Springsteen fan, give it up for the big man all day long. And any band that's got like a horn section, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is like a bigger trend within indie music, just getting more horns involved.
But you mentioned something, or somebody mentioned, I don't know if it was Amy or Andy, but I think Amy, you mentioned it in our original discussion online before, about the experience of playing in a band. And I don't play in a band anymore, but when I did, there was nothing like it. I mean, I never really achieved any level of success, but when I realized I could play, and I was a bassist, and I played bass because I wanted to play drums and I sucked at it. And I thought, okay, I'll play guitar. I sucked at that. And I'm like, all right. So I was reading all the rock magazines, and somebody's like, I learned how to play bass because nobody else played bass, and then you could always find a place in a band. And I'm like, that's it. And so I got a crappy little bass and a crappy little amp, and I took lessons, and I learned how to play. And the next thing you know, I'm in bands, and that was cool. And the next thing you know, I'm writing songs. And the next thing you know, I'm singing, and I'm like, a bassist who sings. I didn't think I would be able to do it, but I found myself being able to do it. And I went from being a kid in school who had no outstanding features. I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't an awesome student, but I could play music, I could write songs, I could sing, and it made me feel invincible. It made me feel like my band was a gang, and it made me feel like when I got up on stage, like I'm doing something that not everybody here can do, and that sustained me for many years. And I do miss the point. And there are times where I'm like, I don't know if I want to front a band anymore, but if the universe dropped me in with the right bunch of people who wanted to do the right kind of thing, I could see my little Tony Stark arc reactor, coming back. So, and yeah, I want to hear Joe's take on it, because Joe's band was so much better than mine. And I predict that Underwater Rain will rise again from the ashes. And I'm just saying that, if Sally and Bonnie don't want to be on board, I'm happy to be the fill-in bassist.
I hope that somebody rediscovers. I put it out on SoundCloud, Joe's album, about 2 years ago. I released it. It's only got a few hundred listens, a few hundred clicks, but I'm hoping that somebody, some indie, pilgrim, the kind of people like similar to what Lights in the Attic and those kind of labels do, will discover the Underwater Rain demos that I put on SoundCloud.
You have to tag it, like do some tagging.
Say that what, Joe?
We have to do some genius tagging to make it show up.
There you go. So I have to thank Andy for putting that up there, because I downloaded it and I did a feature on Debts all about Underwater Rain, which was apparently so good that Joe was like played it for his wife and said, "See, I was a big deal."
I did. You didn't believe me, but no, it was great. It was great being in a band. I loved rehearsing with them, and we should have rehearsed a lot more. But I love when I came in with a song and everybody starts taking it, making a band song. I don't know about a gang for me, but just I guess opposite of solitude and being left the hell alone. I value human connection, like a boat. You got to have balance, and a band is like, you can form a very deep psychic connection in a very short time when you start rocking out and playing in front of people. I was never fully comfortable, but it's cathartic, and you hold a room, and some of the people are paying attention to you, and some of them are really digging it, and we were lucky to have friends who came out and made us feel good, and we played with some other good bands who were kind, and it was great. It was just there was a natural runner's high. I would assume I was otherwise high too, so I might not know I was what, but I'm sure it was there. And then I played some solo shows, which were crazy, because I always think, what the hell was I doing on stage anyway? But I went up and I played just me and the guitar.
I never knew that.
You never knew that? No. After we broke up, I started playing around. I played some concerts at Community Concert Series. I even sang "Home on the Range" a cappella to start one set. It was cool.
So, Amy, I think you remember what some of the better open mics were, the Uncle open mics, and how it was just like people coming out of the woodwork, a lot of energy, a lot of people would come and their friends would show up. So the Uncle group is making a comeback right now, but Amy was in a club at the university that would throw this open mic night that could, at times around between 2010 and 2015, had a couple of real like strong runs where hundreds of people were coming, and it was just really magical. In Detroit, we had this open mic night that started at like 8 or 9 at night and went till 4 in the morning. And you would have like an hour, usually about an hour of open mic. And then we would have featured performers from like 9 or 10 at night till 4 in the morning. And usually the weird rock bands would go on at like 1 in the morning. And like, it was, and we were always in these really, really unique spaces. For a while we were in this dance loft that was up in, like the third floor of this kind of like warehouse type building. One time we were in a former funeral home that was the same funeral home where Harry Houdini was laid out after he died at the Majestic Theater in Detroit. But it was very creepy too. Like the corridor neighborhood at that time was not as fancy. It's now they call it Midtown, and it's an extremely gentrified neighborhood, but it wasn't at the time. It was pretty rough. And we had these storefront places like the 404 Willis where we did stuff. And then the Trumbull Theater, which was a theater built into this old Victorian house. I mean, we had some very funky urban venues. And I've been to venues like that in San Francisco and Lower East Side of New York City. And I think there's something about like the really funky like venues, art galleries, churches, community centers, VFW
club.
Yeah.
As far as, ground zero, lousy venues with the walls. So dank, the walls sweat, Yeah. The skankier, the better sometimes.
There's a venue in Newport, Kentucky, which is the Kentucky side of Cincinnati. They sometimes call it Cincinnati. Yeah. There's an old church that's been converted into a multi-room rock and alternative rock and country and folk venue called the Southgate House Revival. It's an amazing place to go see live music. And there's just something about anything as beautiful as the place we went the other night, Joe, a place that's a little bit too posh always does make me feel a little bit. Amy, did you ever go to a show at Marathon Music Works?
Yeah.
Did they ever when you went, did they have the bathroom attendant?
Yeah, they do that. They do that still, and it's always just like thank you for being here.
And they want to like dry your hands for you and give you mouthwash. I mean, it's so wild. It's maybe less weird in the women's restroom because it's just like a cool lady that's just hanging out there and also has some like extra nice soap for you. But yeah, weird. Yeah, Marathon's a cool venue though. The sound isn't great unless it's sold out, but then it's sold out. But yeah, what's a good like favorite venue experience? We're talking about live music and like what element does setting have to do with it?
I think almost nothing.
Huh.
I think, I think I've been trying to shove this in there into the conversation. One of the shows of my life that stands out the most is Camper Van Beethoven and the Key Lime Pie tour at the height of their powers at the Nectarine Ballroom. And David Lowery walks on stage. And I know I've said this to all of you, except you, Amy, before. He says,
Joe, did you freeze?
What did he say?
What did he say? He said, I just want you to know we've come to rock your world. And they did. And it's like, you ever go to a show where you feel like you wrote your own dream set list and say, hey, here you go. And then they pretty much play like every song you'd want to play and some semblance of, I mean, I didn't have it quite that worked out, but like there was no complaint about any song I didn't want to I wanted to hear not being played. And it was like I was like an inch off the ground levitating the whole time. And it's a shitty venue.
Sure.
Joe, you're freezing out, brother.
Oh, no.
I hope he comes back.
So that was I'm going to finish off and leave it to somebody else because that's going to be happening. But the Nectarine was a really lousy venue with terrible sight lines. But I saw Mould there shredding my face. Was loud and angry, and his first solo tour and Camper Van Beethoven just like there was a couple of very different kinds of joy in that lousy venue, Yeah. And also might have been the age. Blind Pig, I always thought was a blast to an Ann Arbor bar. I saw amazing shows there.
I've never seen shows at either one of those venues.
Oh, Scott, no. We have
Don't
to meet up.
me.
We have to meet up in Ann Arbor just so you can go to the Blind Pig.
Is it still around?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. I went to a matinee Minutemen concert in the Blind Pig. They did an all ages matinee for the kids, and then they did an evening show for the people over 18. Yeah.
I think I was with you.
But I've gotten to see a lot of really cool shows and a lot of really cool venues. So, 601, half dozen or the other. And dovetailing into the whole road trip rock show, one of the other things that is just awesome is the show that you weren't planning on going to, or in my case, I mean, I've been unemployed for a while, so I'm lucky to have friends who will take me to shows or take me on road trips, and both Andy and Joe have done that for me. Thank you. And so not dropping any hints for you, Amy, but
come on, Amy.
No, I kid. And by the same token, I feel grateful that I was able to buy really good seats to see Kraftwerk at the Ryman and say, hey, Andy, I'm coming to Tennessee. Let's go see the forefathers of EDM. And then, a couple of years later, my friend Todd bought tickets to see them here in Charlotte. So it's always great when, and my friend Roland and I used to go see tons of shows together. He was my hopscotch buddy for a while. And we went to so many shows together, and it was so cool because he'd buy tickets and I'd be, how much do I owe you? And be like, and then I would buy tickets and we would buy tickets for each other. And it was nobody gave a shit about who owed anything for what. It was just, we were going to shows and we were having a good time. And it was great when you're fortunate enough to be able to do that and not give a shit about the money involved and just care about the joy. And just, and while we're talking about it, so I've seen Springsteen 14 times. I will see him any chance I get. And there was one time twice here in Charlotte, where I went on the BTX, which is the Backstreet's Ticket Exchange. He was playing on the Magic Tour, and I didn't have money to buy a ticket. And then my friend Don sent me some money, and he wrote like a 3-letter note to me. It says, Scott, go, Don. And I went on the BTX, and I was just starting a new job. So I was like, either I get new pants for work or I get a ticket for Springsteen. So I went on the BTX.
That's not a real choice, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure.
No, at the time it was. So I was able to get pants, and because of the generosity of my friend Don, I went on BTX and somebody sold me a ticket, and it was great. And then the next time he was in town for Working on a Dream, which is probably my least favorite Bruce record, but that's neither here nor there. I went back to BTX and I was just like, hey, I'm in between jobs, and if there's anybody out there who has an extra ticket that they just don't want to see go to waste and you don't care about getting the money for it, you would make me insanely happy. And somebody took pity on me. And there was this woman who her boyfriend bailed on her. And so she's like, yeah, it's yours. I just want, let's talk on the phone to make sure you're not a serial killer. And she showed up at my house, and I'm like, we're going to take the light rail uptown because trying to find parking uptown is a fool's errand. And we took the light rail and we went uptown and we saw the show, and it was great. And I don't think I ever heard from her again, but it was just the kindness of strangers, and it was great. It's still out there, I think.
Yeah.
In the Grateful Dead community, they call that a miracle, and I think that lingo is extended to other fan bases where there people are like, "I'm looking for a miracle," and they put it into the different groups, the Reddits and the Facebook groups online. People sometimes walk around at a show with just one finger in the air, and that means they need one ticket. I have a friend that just recently went on Billy Strings tour in Europe without tickets. And they went to all the shows. They got to go to all the shows, but they pretty much left for Europe I guess they had a plane ticket, but they didn't have concert tickets. And I ended up getting a miracle for her for Dublin from a friend of mine who had to change their plans and couldn't use the ticket. And they had posted on Facebook, I'm giving away a ticket to Billy Strings in Dublin. And they're from Los Angeles or San Diego and Chicago. And they've only lived in Ireland a short time. And nobody was nibbling. And so I DM'd them. I said, I know somebody who's on tour right now without tickets. And I messaged her, the other friend, first. And she's like, oh yeah, Dublin's one that I need. So she got a free ticket, to Dublin. And I just love, and I see that happening a lot in the music groups. I rarely will resell a ticket that I can't use. I'm almost always looking for somebody that I can give that ticket to. And I've had to bail on some shows. If you buy as many tickets as I do, there's going to be a show from time to time that you're going to have to bail on. And it's always nice to find a giveaway.
Yeah.
So, am I the only one who didn't know until recently that Billy Strings is from Michigan?
Huh.
I kind of am vaguely following him.
That's all I know about him.
I want to get to know him a little bit better. He seems like a genuinely good person, and and that people, they just love him so much.
But the point being is, I didn't realize until recently he's from Michigan. He's from
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend from California. He's been traveling to see Billy, and I think he's coming down for the Huntsville shows this week. So
yeah,
it's exciting. But yeah, going to shows with friends is like so a part of what makes going to shows fun.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's brand new friends you meet just because you had to exchange tickets. That's how I met one of my best concert buddies. Was I offered him a ticket, and then I have my BFF who, Scott, you were describing friends that just lose count of who's buying what ticket. Just always I know you're coming to this one with me.
Oh, so a couple of weeks ago, you reminded me, at the last minute, my friend Todd, it was 6:00. He's like, my wife decides she doesn't want to go. Do you want to go see Sharon Van Etten? And I'm like, I do. But I have also, this was right after, days after we all met up in Carborough for baseball project and in the -5. And I think I caught Joe's cold.
Oh, no.
So I'm I wasn't feeling horrible. I felt bad enough where I felt if I go to the show, I'm going to enjoy the show, but I'm going to get sicker. And I just listen to my body, and I'm parts of me kicks myself because her latest record is just so good, and I've never seen her before. But I'm it's all, everything happens for a reason. I want to talk about, Amy was talking about shows with friends, and that's always great, but let's talk about flying solo to shows.
Yeah. I love a solo show too.
I've done that a lot in the past, and I did it recently for Vandaliers. I couldn't get anybody to go because it was a Sunday night. And I'm okay with going to shows, but back in the day when I would go to shows by myself, before I really recognized my anxiety and did anything about my anxiety, it was a lot more difficult. But now it's I still don't like going to shows by myself, but I'll go because I don't want to miss the show. And at least, I have my phone to look at, and maybe if I'm lucky, I'll make a friend. But I don't know. What does everybody else feel about that?
I think I used to go to shows by myself a lot more often, but in more recent years, I'm just why would I leave the house if I'm not going to see my friends? The reason to leave my house is to be with my friends. So I'm going to grab a friend before I go to a show. But it's fun either way.
But when you can't get a friend to go, that's the worst. Although I did make friends at the Dream Syndicate show, and I ran into them again at the Feelies. So
let me add to this. So I am partnered, and my partner likes to go to shows with me. And so that's, if you're not in a one-on-one significant other relationship, this doesn't even really apply. But we're old and getting older, and sore feet, and poor Joe. I caught Joe napping. I shouldn't even say this on the public internet, but I caught Joe napping at the My Morning Jacket show, the second one.
Hey, I went to see the with my sister years ago, and she won't let me forget that I nodded off. We fucking a gin and tonic in the tonic bottle, like poured off some of the tonic and dumped in some gin, and I love the show, but.
So I last year I went to 80 shows, and I think I'm probably going to top that this year. And that's like a couple shows a week year round. So Jeannie's chosen to not go to every show with me. And I love finding somebody to go with, but sometimes, and I love my friends, and so I'm not negating what you guys said about friends, but sometimes it's just like, that's a lot of work to like organize who's going to drive, where are you going to meet up, are you going to eat, are you not going to eat, whose car are you going to take, are we, what time are we?
Your friend's not into them and it's your pick. I'm worried like they're not going to like it. They're going to be like, oh, I hate this. And then you're shepherding someone who's having a bad time. And that's stressful. I'd rather be by myself.
I'm talking out of school. I've taken Rick, and I'm like, I've been so worried. Did he just come along because of me, or did he actually like the concert? And I mean, and like, would I even tell somebody? Like, if somebody did that, and I was on the receiving end of a free ticket, would I even say that I didn't like it? And I have a pretty big berth, but like, I wouldn't even know if I'd be willing. So all that is to say, Scott, in response to your question, I love going solo.
Okay.
Like the more I do it, the more I like it. I can go eat where I want to eat. I can listen to a podcast. I can just get into a zone. I can eat a really cheap, really fast meal. I can stand where I want to stand. Yeah. I don't, and so I've gone to probably about half of all my shows lately. I go solo, and some of them have just been extremely, extremely fun to be and to just completely focus in, on the music and really nothing else. And yes, sometimes I make small talk with concert neighbors and learn some things about bands that they like, or find that we have something in common. But I'm not there to hang. I'm there to get into the music and then go back to my Airbnb or get in the car and drive home if it's a local show. And it's great for me. I love it.
I can kind of the same way with movies. Like back in the day when you wanted to go to the movies, you had to call a friend, and if they were like, no, I can't, but then they'd want to talk to you. I'm like, but I want to go see this movie, and I got to hang up with you so I can find somebody else. But you don't want to be rude, so you end up missing the fucking movie. And I got to the point where I just started going to the movies by myself. But I like what Andy brought up about being concerned about, is the other person going to like the person or like the person you're seeing? I was in Oregon a few years ago, and my cousin Chris was like, my girlfriend and I are going to go see Counting Crows and Matchbox 20. I know it's not really your jam. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll go with you. I'm like, I'm not a fan of either of the bands, but go see a show with my cousin in a state where I've never seen a show. I'm like, I had a great time. And I think I had a great time because I wasn't so invested. It was like when I'm invested in a show, it's great, but I'm also like, it's a mission. I've got a target, I'm focused. And when I go to a show that I'm not invested in, I can just kind of hang. And I had a great time because of that. So there's something to be said for going to see a band that you're not really invested in, but you like the people you're with.
Mm-hmm. I think expectations and like anticipation and like how your attitude is going in makes the difference whether or not you have a okay time versus a great time. If you going, I think I'll be surprised how good this is. Like, I'm usually like kind of delighted, even if it's a band I don't know too well.
Right. So, okay, I want to go around the room. And it's like, tell me an experience where you went to see a band. Maybe they were the opening band. Maybe somebody took you to see a band. You never heard of them before. And then afterwards, you were like, I'm a fan for life.
Well, I'm wearing a t-shirt from a band I saw very recently called Sextile. This is Women Respond to Bass, which is a really fun dance song. And one of my Bonnaroo friends invited me to go see them at the Blue Room, and it was a wonderful time.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in since I brought it up. I went to see Chicano Batman at the Lincoln Theater in Raleigh, which is another one of my favorite venues.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I love Chicano Batman. I was there to see them. And there was this band called the Shacks who at the time had a cover. They had a cover of a Kinks song that was being used in an Apple ad. So they were having a bit of a moment. But the band in the middle, I was like, 3 bands. I'm like, despite the fact it was a Saturday night, 3 bands, my old man jeans kicked in. But I'll tell you what, that band in the middle blew Chicano Batman off the stage and made me a fan forever. And that band is Krungbin.
Yeah. That's a good discovery.
So Scott, the opening band for My Morning Jacket on this leg of their tour is Balthvis, and they're from Colombia. That's all capital letters, Balthvs, Balthvis.
Cool.
And they are very Krungbin adjacent, and it's a 3-piece. And they were on. I mean, they did not beat the Jacket by any stretch for me personally, but they were phenomenal. I mean, really super groovy, super vibey. I mean, really phenomenal. Yeah. So and I went in cold. A lot of times I try to research the opening act, but sometimes I don't have time, or I just never forget to.
My friend Roland took me to see Lord Huron on their first tour. I'd never heard of them, but it's like he had good taste, and I left there going, I like these guys. They kind of remind me of like the score of Raising Arizona, and I became a fan of them. Like, sometimes you have a friend who's just got great taste, and they're like, let's go see this band. I'm like, I know nothing about them, but I'm going in blind. And
having a friend that you like trust, where like whatever show they're taking you to, it's going to be good. Joe, exactly. Do you have a concert discovery?
I've seen the Decemberists a couple of times, and they always have fabulous opening acts I've never heard of. Y.O. was one for
so good.
Was opening up when they toured for might have been Civilian, and Laura Veers, and she was one of the 8-month pregnant women I've seen. Were we talking about that pregnant women?
Yeah, because I saw Amanda Shires when she was still playing with the 400 unit at the album release party for Something More Than Free exactly 10 years ago, and she was like 8 months pregnant with Mercy, the daughter between the now estranged couple of Americana.
Amanda
Jason and Laura Veers, and it's just a kind of an incredible thing.
Laura Veers is great.
What a woman goes through in pregnancy to see her working out.
I'm a huge fan of Laura's album July Flame. That's a great record.
One of my favorite artists, Alice in Wonderland, is a EDM DJ, and last time I saw her, she was very pregnant with her second child, and it's awesome seeing a female artist, especially in the EDM scene, who is kicking ass, making cool new music, just innovating on her sound, and raising a family too, and doing it all. So Alice in Wonderland.
Now I remember the pregnant woman I saw live, and I'm blanking on her name. I'm blanking on her name because she's the drummer of Shovels and Rope.
Oh.
And she was very pregnant when I saw
Pregnant Drummers live. That's another.
Yeah.
Sitting like that.
Whoa.
I can't remember either of their names right now, but they're a phenomenal duo.
Carrie Ann. Her name is Carrie Ann.
Love Shovels and Rope. I saw Willie Carlisle at the Southgate House, the venue I was talking about that's in the old church in Newport, Kentucky. And he had Jordan. Willie Carlisle was headlining, and the opening. No, back on the original question. The opening act was Jordan Smart, and Jordan Smart is like one of these Instagram political folk singers, which we seem to have a lot of today, who put out most of their songs on Instagram Reels and write content in response to this current events news cycle. Jesse Wells is now like the global brand for this, but there's a lot of other people writing topical folk songs in response to the news and putting them out on Instagram Reels. And Jordan Smart's one of those people, and I saw him opening for Willie Carlisle back in March, and blew me away, and really, and I think I kind of knew who he was going in, but he really solidified it with his live performance. I think I've told you guys that back in the day we went to see Red Hot Chili Peppers and Pearl Jam opened.
That's crazy.
That was 1991, but that was an opening band that I hadn't really heard of before. That kind of stole my heart.
I've seen Chili Peppers twice. I'm not a fan of the Chili Peppers, but the first time I saw them at this horrible dance club in Lansing called Sensations, and it was a Chuck Mosley era Faith No More that opened for them. And Faith No More wiped the stage with them.
Wild.
Flea seems were pretty righteous. I don't know, as a human,
Oh yeah,
major act. You know,
I'm just not a fan of the Chili Peppers music.
Can I tell my Rush ticket story? This
is appropriate, I think.
Yeah,
appropriate. And this is a concert I haven't seen yet. So Rush announced they're getting back together. They've hired a German woman who's a big YouTube drum teacher, but also has done a lot of professional live drumming. And they're going to do this major North American arena tour, and they keep announcing more shows. They did announce a Detroit show, but I got on a pre-sale. I got on a pre-sale, and I thought it was on a Friday. I'm like, I want to get on this first one, and it's the Citi credit card. So I got a Citi credit card right then, tried to get tickets and got booted out. It just was some credit problem with this new card anyway. I went back on and I got a Monday, and I said, I wanted to get whatever tickets I can back. But the following Monday, they had the artist presale, which I was signed up for. And I got these fucking crazy expensive tickets. It's an obscene amount. And I'm like, I want to go with my brother. My brother and I saw Rush in 1984 at the Joe Louis Arena, like my brother Frank, my older brother. And, we haven't seen a ton of concerts, but I like that band because of him and because it helped our relationship have, something to rock about. He liked other things, but he liked them, and I glommed onto them to get closer. So I spent this obscene amount on tickets because that's what was left. It wasn't like I was trying to. It was like, there you go. You're waiting in the queue, and they're like, the $10 tickets are gone. The $20 tickets are gone. There's several $1,000 tickets left. I didn't spend that much. But I got good tickets, and we're going to go. And he's like, I told Andy, he's a taciturn dude. Like that he used exclamation points is, he's the stoic older brother, and he's stoked and I'm stoked. And, we went 40 some years ago, and I'm already enjoying it.
Yeah.
I've made this reckless decision about spending a lot of money, and it was
good for you.
Fuck it, I'm just doing it. Kill them all and let God sort them out.
Yeah, there's something happy about just like having the tickets, having that thing on your calendar to be looking forward to.
Yeah. 10 months back. So while they make millions in interest on all our tickets.
I've been having the thought lately, I've been kind of kicking myself for not having traveled more. And, with my current state of unemployment, I in my darkest hours, I'm like, I'm never going to get to travel. But I also go, but I've probably been to a lot more shows than a lot of my well-traveled friends. So maybe in some weird way, I can maybe make that even out. I don't know.
It's not a competition, but it's about having life experiences and doing things that, like we're talking about, bring you joy.
I still do want to travel, and that would be great. I had a friend a couple years ago who wanted to go to what's that big festival in the UK?
Glastonbury.
Wanted to go to Glastonbury, and I'm like, no. I get anxiety thinking about that because number one, I have anxiety. They have like 27 stages, and trying to like the Sophie's Choice that I would endure from that. Plus, we got to get camping equipment, and there's the anxiety of shit getting stolen, or losing a contact lens, or taking a shower, and just I could see myself just having a miserable time, and I'm like, no, I'll go to the UK to travel around, but I'm not going to go to fucking Glastonbury.
You could go to Crankenhouse.
There you go.
That's a British or Sea Powers Festival, which is very small and weird.
Yeah, I'm like,
Anyway, that would be a good.
Like a one-day festival, great, but it's like Glastonbury is just too overwhelming for me.
Next month, I don't even think we have time for a lightning round recent listens, but this is
one.
Rush.
I only have one, and it's the new Amanda Shires, and she pulls no motherfucking punches. I like it so much better than Foxes in the Snow.
Oh, blasphemy! Oh, Lord have mercy.
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to be a Jason stan, but I am a Jason stan anyway. Amy, you want to say one? I'll say one. Amy, you want to say one?
Yeah, I'll just echo Rick's from last month. The new David Byrne is a delight.
So, I don't know how I ended up with this one, but this is really like Dusty the Kid. No idea how I found him, but he's like folk with a strong Celtic edge to it, and political folk music. Dusty the Kid.
And cool. Does he also moonlight as a prospector?
I mean, it sounds like it, right? I mean, it sounds. I'm sure that has something to do with how he picked his stage name.
I'm Dusty the Kid.
November something. We're doing Bruce Springsteen. I have it wrote down somewhere. So cool. Next one.
Cannot wait for this.
Scott's going to host us in an all Springsteen episode. I think we'll talk about the movie. We'll talk about Nebraska. We'll talk about all the things.
As a matter of fact, I'm declaring this week Nebraska week.
All right, off we go.
Well, thank you all for attending. Amy, thanks for getting back in the loop with us. We're so grateful that you were here, and hopefully surely after November we're taking a break, and from the normal monthly to have our end of the year annual. And I think even maybe Birmingham Scott will come, but I know Gus told me no matter what he's going to make sure he's on the end of the year best of the albums of the year. So
Gus is negotiating a spinoff.
Oh. Well, he is the editor of he's the editor in chief of the college paper, and he has a monthly, weekly, or however often they come out, every couple of weeks they come out. He's got the music column, so he's doing all the things for college journalism right now. So, and that's a great thing. Anyway, thanks to the four of y'all. Anybody who listened to this, whether you listen to it live or in replay on YouTube, thanks for coming to the Nerdcast, which is also known as the Music Nerds Record Club. Good night.
Have fun.
Bye.